Get in on the action with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New customers who deposit $5 or more can get a no-sweat bet for up to $1,000 back in a beautiful bonus bet. Basketball comes on every night, almost every other night. You can find something that you could play some of that bonus bet money on. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code VOCH, V-O-C-H, VOCH. New customers can get a no-sweat bet up to $1,000 if your first bet loses. Okay, only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code VOCH, V-O-C-H, VOCH. The crown is yours. We are back. Voch Lombardi of Voch Lombardi on YouTube and Bryan Broaddus of things that are many more things than me. DallasCowboys.com, the draft show. We're going to do that one day, Bryan. Not this year and maybe not next year, but one day we're going to have to figure that thing out. Cowboys.com, 105.3 The Fan. Love to Start podcast. He does it all. G-Bag Nation. How are you, Bryan Broaddus? What's good with you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing the Voch Lombardi show right now, and that's my favorite thing to do. Hey, I love spending Fridays with you, Voch. I'm sorry I missed you last week because of the Super Bowl stuff, but here we are talking about the draft, and man, I think we're inside 70 days now. Yeah. So it'll be here before you know it. I
tell you what, man, I take this really, really serious. This is
I know you do.
This is the biggest draft season of my, short little YouTube life or whatever. So we are getting some work done right here. But let's give the people what they came for. So Dane Brugler dropped a top 100 list. And I love these top 100 lists because I love to put my list next to their list. There's no way that Spencer Rattler cracked the top 100, but we don't have to talk about the particular top 100 today because we're talking about defensive tackles, okay? And I just want to kind of run down some of these guys, and just in case this is your first time here, we kind of do this in like a marathon style. We don't jump to different groups. One day we will. One day we'll, play the Would You Rather game. One day we'll break down a top 50 board, a mock draft or something like that, but we're just trying to get through these groups, these D tackles today, okay? Go back and watch our pass rush episode. Go back and watch the guards and tackles and all that, because we really get to the nitty gritty here, and we talk a lot of crap and we keep it very honest and we give you reasons of why we feel this way. That's why we're important here. All right, so let's do this. Dane Brugler had 8 defensive tackles in his top 100. That's a lot of defensive tackles in your top 100. I think some of them deserve to be there. I think some of them could be pushed out a little bit. But let's just start with Byron Murphy. Now, when I first started watching tackles, Bryan, and I'm going to kind of pair this with our next guy also, because I'm just noticed something that was just a little interesting, right? Jer'Zhan Newton was like a top 10 dude at some point, right?
Right.
And Byron Murphy was a little bit down the list. But of course, the more you watch the film, the more we figure this thing out. Byron Murphy's up in the top 15 now. I can kind of see that. We're going to talk about how Jer'Zhan Newton fell to 30 and what teams could be looking at him now that he's like a 30 guy. And I just want to know what happened to him. But starting with Byron Murphy, Bryan Broaddus, what's your thoughts on Byron Murphy while I set up my film so I can tell you what I love about Byron Murphy?
Yeah, Byron Murphy is an amazing athlete, and for the for the skill that he has, his size, 6'1", he's 308 pounds is what we're working with. He never stops moving. He's always working toward the ball. He's disruptive right off the snap. He'll line up at the 1. He'll line up at the 3. He plays with impressive power and surge. And you can, when you watch him play, you feel him on the tape with that surge. The leverage is really, really good. He can be hard to move, and he'll see a share of double teams throughout a contest. And he's got some 2-gap technique to his game where when we talk about the 2-gap, it's you engage, you look inside, you look outside, disengage, and then go get the football. So he's kind of got that for those teams that are interested in that type of play, because he's got really strong hands and the pass rush moves to go along with the power. He's just not going to be still. I mean, he's always moving, strong punch, lower body power. He makes plays in the hole. He makes plays outside the tackle box. I mean, the thing that scouts are probably going to talk about the most is he's 6'1". That's the thing that a lot of these guys, now we've seen some shorter tackles play in this league and have some success. So that gives you a little hope, but the tape on Byron Murphy is really good.
I think his combine is going to be ridiculous, and that's going to bump him up a little bit. And, you know, whenever you find guys that test well, you want the film to pair with that, you know. So he's going to be super athletic already. But the one thing I just remember watching him, right, because, like, he's not a humongous dude, but he plays all over the place. And here we go right here. I just got some film pulled up, Brian. This is what I love. This is some of the favorites of things that I see from him, right? We got him lined up right here, number 90, Brian. So he's going to, we're just going to run the play and come back and talk about it. I just kind of want to, you know, get my audience ready here, right? Because we have an audience of, you know, some people play ball, some people coach ball, some people just like football and they just maybe need to know, right? So there's this technique, right, where we deal with double teams, right? First of all, we're like kind of high, but when we're doing this, in this move in particular, we want to get lower and we want to get skinny, right? And that's just a good way to deal with double teams. So I'm watching this dude, Brian, right? He's about 305, 308. He deals with the double teams perfectly. His guy number 41 right here, he's the run free guy. So in this duo concept that Bam is running, 41 gets to run free here because Byron Murphy is tearing up this double team. But Brian, it's not over. What I love about Byron Murphy is once he beats the double team, like once he deals with it, he gets his ass up and he runs to the football with the dude that he just kept clean, Bryan Broaddus. And I'm like, listen, that's some top tier effort right there. I love it to pieces, but Bryan Broaddus, there's no way that he could just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And Brian, I just keep watching film on him, Brian, and I'm keep looking at this effort from this power player, from this technical player. And I'm gonna pull this film up right here, and you're just gonna constantly see him deal with these double teams. You're gonna see him get up, and you're gonna see him run to the football. Brian, you can't manufacture some effort better than that. Here we go. Here, go.
Yeah, he's outstanding. And you mentioned it. You know, the thing about playing double teams is you have to play it square. You know, if you see his numbers turn, then you know there's a problem in the hole. There's going to be space. There's going to be a crease. He does a great job of staying square, fighting the blocks, and then being able to like hold those blocks. You know, and then you mentioned that allows the linebackers to go. Look at right there, though. Like I say, you just got to stay square in that hole. Because if you get turned, that's going to be a problem in your defense. And Brian, I'm just looking at him, and the one thing that I wrote down on it, and we're gonna say this a bunch in the draft process, right? I like to say he knows how to play D tackle. Some dudes are athletes, he really does. You know, some dudes, you know, they're explosive or they project to be well, or they just strong as hell. Whatever the reason, we like them, but are they good at their job? He's just flat out good at being a defensive tackle, and that's why I like Byron Murphy right here. So seeing me seeing him jump to top 15 on the board here, Brugler's board here, I go, okay, cool, let me watch him, and it works out. But man, I'm excited about that dude. But I've seen him kind of in that Cowboy range. This ain't really a Cowboy show. This for everybody, but we're gonna see some Cowboys in there. I see him kind of in that Cowboy range a little bit. I just wonder, with Cowboys needing tackles, we have a Osa. But could we use another dude? I think that's a real life conversation they got to have. No, it's a real life conversation because Mike Zimmer's now your defensive coordinator, and Mike finds these defensive tackles important. You know, he finds linebackers important. We'll see. You know, will the Cowboys? You know, they need to figure out something about Mazi Smith. What Mazi Smith is. You know, and it should never. It should never keep you from drafting another good player if you have the opportunity, but they've got to figure out something about Mazi Smith. That's going to be number one here on their list about their defensive tackles. That's one of the first things I would have asked if I was Mike Zimmer. Hey, what was your plan for Mazi Smith going into the year? You know, why all of a sudden was Mazi Smith a 329-pound guy, and now he's a 293-pound guy? Yeah. You know, that's the questions you have to ask.
Yeah, but you know, we shouldn't have to worry about it too long because Byron Murphy gonna be in Jacksonville or something. We ain't got to worry about that. So I'm just looking at the list though, right? And I'm starting to pick my brain of why Jer'Zhan Newton dropped to number 30 on the list. Now this list isn't over yet. There's a lot of draft to be happening, but based on the film, based on the athleticism, you really can project him to go upwards, right? Because because you know, combine's coming. He's probably gonna have the best combine out of all these guys. Like he explodes, he moves. Jer'Zhan Newton from Illinois. So I'm watching him and I'm like, okay, well, I know he's a solid player. I can see okay, so Oso Digizua UCLA was a different type of player, but when he got to the Cowboys, he was a more bursty player, upfield player, powerful hands, kind of a slashy sideways guy. Jer'Zhan Newton, fresh out of the box, is what Osa kind of turned into. That's kind of how I, say it to people, break it down to people, right? But if I explain that player to you, that'll sound like a top 5 or so player. Bryan, why do you think Jer'Zhan Newton kind of tumbled down Dane's list?
Yeah, I think that the media scouts are starting to catch up with the actual scouts. And now that's where, you have these thoughts where we watch this tape and, these scouts do have the advantage of going on the road, seeing the kids practice live, being around them and stuff like that. I think the thing that's going to get Newton is people will talk about his arm length. I don't think it's ideal. And that's what's going to get him. Can he control blocks at the line of scrimmage? We saw Murphy in the tape that you provided there, Voch, how he's able to control the blockers. Can Newton do those types of things? So, he has the same kind of traits. You can move him up and down the defensive line. He's a high energy player. He's explosive. He can penetrate. He's quick. He's got agility in the movements and things like that. But the people will start to talk about what happens when he locks up with the blockers. And that's the thing that he has to deal with right now. The short arms could be a problem for him.
All right, he's another player that's if he's 30th on this big board, then maybe he's a back of the first round guy. I mean, I don't really see it happen. I think combine is going to happen. I think they're going to go, okay, this kid is athletic. I remember him running all over the place, and he's probably not going to be here for long. So, yes, I wouldn't even bank on that. But cool player, and we've talked about him a little bit, so we don't have to harp on him here. T'Vondre Sweat was 33rd, and we talked about him a bunch too, so we don't really have to get into it. But let me ask, Bryan, where do you draft a guy like this? Because I'm kind of looking at him, and Cowboy Nation, we love Texas anything. We love guys that kind of jump out on the film. But in real life, in real drafting, unless he's like a top tier elite dude, one techs generally don't go first round in that way. Like, he's not a Vita Vea type guy, So, but he's better than what a John Ridgeway or what a Bohanna would be. So maybe he's not a 7th round, 6th round pick guy, right? So where do you take T'Vondre Sweat? 3rd, 4th, 2nd?
No, I think he's honestly more of a 2nd round type player, because it's rare to find guys with his size. The 362 pounds is what we're working with here. The lateral agility, the ability to slide. It's hard to believe that he weighs that much and shows the ability the way that he moves. I mean, he could be difficult to deal with one-on-one. The leverage, the point of attack, all those things are really good about him. Like, he keeps his eyes in the backfield, and he moves side to side with those strong hands. So it's really one of those things that, like, he plays low enough for a big guy. You always worry about those guys that are 6'4" and big like that. They kind of get upright. Sure. But man, he plays low. He's got the natural power. He's got the ability to bull rush. He's just not a one-trick pony guy. Yeah. So there's some hand use, pass rush moves. He just doesn't go straight ahead. He can move around, and I think that's what makes him very inviting for a lot of teams. Yeah,
and there's going to be a team that sees him, and they're just going to love what he does. Even you were saying pass rush, right? Like, even if he's not a full-blown pass rusher day one, he is a damn pocket pusher right now. So but I just had this play here on the film. Like, he even has swim moves. He has pull moves, right? Like, he has different moves that he can do with his hands, and he's a little quicker than you think he is, right? So I think that's going to bump him up a little bit, but maybe not first round, but second.
I mean, the thing about him is this guy's played like 460 snaps the last 2 years.
That's a lot. That's
a very durable type of a player that you have inside there. Sure. So, you don't have to worry about this guy always kind of coming off the field and worrying about that. This guy will give you a good day's work.
All right. So now we're going to get into some real nitty gritty here, Bryan Broaddus. Rike Oro. And I know I'm not saying his name right, but it is what it is. Rike
is what it is. Yeah.
Rike Oro from Clemson. Now, I remember watching him, Bryan, and I do like the player. Maybe not as high as like 52 on my big board, but I think when you watch film and you evaluate players, you have to know who you are, right? I'm the technique guy. I like the refined player. I don't like a whole bunch of rough edges. The raw player is cool. The super powerful guy is cool, but I just prefer the dude that knows how to play D tackle. When I watch Rike Oro I'm just assuming that's how you say it. I see a powerful dude, Bryan. Strong hands, point of attack dude. More of a run stopper. You know, you'll catch a flash of him pass rushing somebody, but that'll be via him bull rushing or running down the middle of somebody. So he just seems like a dude that's not ready right now, but you can't really, you know, move away from him, because some coach can take that. He's a powerful dude. Some coach can take that power and maybe mold him and maybe do something with that. But when we're watching tackles, though, Bryan, another thing that we have to be careful of, just everybody evaluating, these coaches are going to put players in different places where they'll normally be. I don't think he's going to be like a zero, and they lined him up at zero, head up on the center a bunch. I think he's more going to be like a B gap, pass rushing A gap type guy, but you just got to teach him how to do that. Go ahead.
Yeah, you got him. I mean, I think this guy's more of a bull rusher than a guy with a plan. He really doesn't have any technique, and I think that's what you're talking about here.
Sure.
He tends to pop straight up out of his stance and then kind of attempts to bully his guy. But, that's something that, his best pass rush techniques that I saw when he was on the move.
Sure.
He's got to get to that point. He plays a little too high for my liking.
Yeah.
I mean, you see blockers get underneath his pads and then turn him away from the ball. So, there's that you have to kind of deal with. I would like to see him a little bit quicker reading the snap and getting on the move. But I just kind of thought he had adequate strength and power in these games. I wasn't as high on him as some others have been.
Sure.
I know a lot of guys have talked about him. Here you are. You're kind of like, well, I feel like I'm on an island on this one. But he does play in that rotating system. He does play at Clemson, who had put some really good NFL linemen, defensive linemen out there. So, but I don't think he's as consistent as the others that we've seen before him. And so I kind of think I agree with you. I think he's a little bit of a project at this point.
Sure. He is that. And we're going to talk about some dudes, and we're going to come back to Ruke. We're going to come back to him and kind of put all these guys together, because he does need work. But I think he has a feel for what a D lineman could be, right? Because, it's not like I'm watching him and he has nothing. He has the power. He has bull rush. He just has no clue how to play defensive line. We just keep echoing that. He just has no clue how to use his hands. Okay, what does run look like? What does pass look like, right? But he is super, super powerful, so I can see a future for him. But it just depends on how long you want to work with him, right? Now, Chris Jenkins from Michigan is kind of different for me, because I see his athleticism. And I'm not going to do the lazy, low-hanging fruit Michigan thing, right?
Yeah.
That is a problem. That is a problem, coming off the ball late, but I'm not going to do the low-hanging fruit. My whole thing with him is I see the athleticism, but I just don't see him using it properly, right? Like, you'll see it chasing somebody, you'll see it moving sideways, right? But he doesn't parlay that into like pass rush ability, in my opinion. I think he's a dude that disappears a lot. So he got bloodline, but I would like for that bloodline to show on tape. I would love for him to look like his pappy and to be powerful with those hands and move people and not give ground. But he's an athletic dude that kind of hangs around a gap or moves side to side or doesn't really have a clear direction. And I didn't want to be low-hanging fruit guy. So the last thing I'll say is the Michigan get off the ball late thing. But go ahead.
Yeah, that is the truth. That is the truth right there. That's the Michigan thing that you're absolutely right about. There's, I scouted his dad, Chris. Excuse me.
Take your time. Take your time.
Man, I'm struggling today. Sorry about this.
You good, man. Clear your throat right now. Bryan Broaddus is
I'm playing hurt today, guys.
He's put in some Vegas work, man. So we good.
I'm so sorry. I really apologize to folks. I'm doing my very best here. I feel like that, with Chris, his dad was a much different player.
Sure.
And he's able to control the blockers with his hands. I do like that about him. The base, the anchor. There's some strong punch at the line.
Sure.
And he can hold his own. He can push off blockers. I think he's good at read and react. But like these Michigan linemen, they need to be a little quicker. We saw that with Mazi Smith. They don't play the initial snap very, very quick.
Sure.
And so that's, then you're a tick late, and that gets them in trouble. But, against Washington, if you watch that tape, he did a good job of playing and getting into the backfield. He played a little bit quicker in that game. But there are times where he was blocked, and he still finds ways to make the play. So you like the athletic ability. You like the way he plays on the move. He can cover some ground when he's running. The hand use, the strength in the hands, the technique. He does his best not to stay blocked, and I think he moves well enough laterally in order to deal with the run. But that thing that we dealt with the Michigan player is the same thing that Mazi Smith struggles with. How quick are you going to be off the ball? And is that something you're going to have to deal with? So it's a little bit of a little bit of mystery. Chris Jenkins, not a bad player, but I'll tell you what, though, the thing with the Michigan linemen and the being a tick late because of the way they play, more read and react scheme. Sure. How quickly can he adjust to the NFL level? Not doing that.
Chris Jenkins or Ruke Oro? Who for you?
Chris Jenkins.
Yeah, I agree. I agree by a little bit, and I'm not blown away by either. Because the next guy I was incredibly happy with. I'm not blown away by either, but I do like Chris Jenkins a little more than Ruke Oro. I think he's gonna fall way down the list for me. Now, Brian, this is the last guy that I watched. Like, I'm just running down tackles, getting ready for this show, getting ready for the Broaddus and Lombardi show, and it's the last guy I watched. And boy, I'm happy I got a chance to watch him. I talk about all these dudes to where, hey, man, maybe I can't feel you on tape. Maybe I can't see what your goal is. Maybe you're athletic enough, but I don't really see how you're using that athleticism. Maybe you're powerful, but I don't see how you're using power. Bryan Broaddus. Michael Hall Jr. from Ohio State is better than Chris Jenkins to me. He's better than Ruke Oro to me. I'm going to hold my thoughts there, and we're going to keep on going. Man, Brian, there's a lot of these, like, I don't want to say lean, but like not fat defensive tackles. Yeah. I don't want to just use that word for him, right? Because he's not a small dude at all. No. But boy, I'm watching him, man. You can see when he punches the hell out of people. You can see when he's slashing. You can see when he's punching the hell out of people, stacking and shedding. You can see the swim moves. He's not a refined pass rusher or nothing like that, but if he's 280, he may be doing pass rush things for you. I don't see him move backwards a lot. You may see him move sideways a lot. You know, you may see him get down blocked. You may see him get reached or something like that. Brian, let me just show this power on this play. Take a look at him. 3 people died making this play, and he's just running through people. And I'm just, but it's very controlled. He has a lot of controlled chaos in him, though, Brian. He gives dudes fits. He's a rotational guy. I don't even think he started for real. I'm just like gathering all of his film and look at him. He's not playing like a lot of snaps, but with whatever reps that he had, Brian, he's beating double teams. He's beating one-on-one blocks. He kind of gets himself, and that's why I added this play. He's so athletic sometimes he may get himself out of the play, and that's okay. Right. That's okay. That's all right. But but that's something that's coachable. What I'm looking for are traits. I see a dude that's quick off the line of scrimmage. Ball get off, he can explode. He looks a little tall, but I don't know all the combine numbers and all that. But he is powerful enough to not get driven backwards, and he has a mixture of pass rush ability with his power or his quickness or his moves. What you think about Michael Hall Jr.?
Man, I think you nailed the guy. I really do. Now, you've seen, like, if you're watching the tape, like we all do, his arm over is a great move for him. Yes. I mean, he will free himself up with that arm over move. 6'2", he's 280 pounds. That's a little bit probably light for some guys inside. But I'll tell you what, though, he's super, super active in the way he plays. I think you perfectly nailed him. There's a suddenness to his game. He can win with quickness as a pass rusher. He's especially good when he goes, like, say, with that swim move. He's able to, you see him like throughout a game, he goes to it and it keeps working. And, he'll use those blockers' aggressiveness against them. And so does a really good job of playing with his hands. He's very good when it comes to counter punching with blockers and stuff like that. They use him in the twist game due to his athletic ability. So he's effective at working the twists and the stunts. And he's got to feel around got to get around the corner and stay tight and not get real wide, but stay tight and make that rush from there. But you mentioned the lateral agility to the edge, the quickness, the hand placement, the stack, the defeat. Sure. I mean, those are all things. He can generate upfield push and forcing the ball carrier wide in the run game because of how he's able to win off the line of scrimmage. So I really do like this kid a lot. I'm interested to see at 6'2" and 280 pounds what some other people think about him.
I just know that is not the Cowboys type, so I don't think he's not going to be one of our guys, and that sucks. But I think at some point, man, you have to look past the measurables. You're going to look at Ruke Oro and go, hey, man, he may look like a dude that I like, but man, what does the film say? Michael Hall's better than that dude, man. And I just see him higher on these rankings, and I just want to know what film did they watch, and can they recommend it to me so that I can see what they see. Right now, I think Michael Hall is a better player than Ruke Oro, and I think you agree too.
I agree too. Yeah.
Okay, Michael Hall or Chris Jenkins though.
I think I'm going to take Michael Hall because I see the quickness. I think there's some things, like I say, there's about a 20-pound difference, but I see Michael Hall playing more up the field. And that, again, it goes back, and it's not a Michigan thing with me, because you do see him playing a tick late. And now, I mean, now that I've seen it with my own eyes with Mozzie, can these guys adjust? Can these guys come in the league and not play a read and react scheme the way they play at Michigan? You know, are they trained? They're trained to play a way. They play a certain way at Michigan, and now they're in the NFL level, and they're having to adjust on their techniques. But I like Hall a lot. But the thing that kind of scares me a little bit is the 280. You know, that's something that you're going to have to deal with, because he's going to have to initially win with the quickness. He's going to have to do. I think that maybe Jenkins is a little bit of a stronger player at the point of attack, but I do like the quickness of Hall and the way he gets off the ball.
Jenkins is a more powerful dude, and he's probably a more pure defensive tackle, but I see how Michael Hall wins more consistently, you know? So maybe in my mind, because he's up the field quickly. So in my mind, Brian, and there's a couple of dudes that are like this, right? Are these dudes that are really like edge guys? Like, are they just less bendy edge dudes, you know? Like maybe they can be like a run game dude that
have you seen Brandon Delores from Oregon?
Well, it's funny you said that, Bryan Broaddus. I got him pulled up right here. Here's going to be our next guy, but go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, to me, and I'm glad you brought this guy up, because I see this guy playing in a lot of different spots. Now, here's a guy at 6'3" and 290 pounds. And so you talk about excellent, you know, athletic ability, really good overall movement skills. He's got the length. Here we go again.
No, you good. You're good. Very lengthy player.
Excuse me about that. Folks, I really apologize for this. She's got the length, the upper body power, the strength, the point of attack. He's really, really good. He plays with quickness. He's got to burst off the line. He's a penetrator when coming off the ball. He could be a hard guy to handle when he's on the move. He's got very good initial quickness, and he's often wins on his first step, and he does a really nice job of playing with his hands. I was super impressed by him, and people are like, whoa, what about this? Have you seen this, you know, Delores kid from Oregon? I'm like, no, I watched him last night. He's got the ability to play at a couple different spots. And he's really a slippery rusher when you watch him play. Yeah.
Just like I said earlier, Brian, I need to see how you win. Can I see how you win on tape? You see how this dude wins, and he wins in multiple places. You know, sometimes you will see a player, and just like Michael Hall, similarly, right? You'll go, okay, you may be one thing, like you may be powerful. That means you're not a quick guy, or you're quick, but that means you may not be powerful. Sometimes we just can like categorize these dudes real fast, but he can do everything everywhere. So he's really a dude that could play 3-tech. He could play edge. He could play 3-4, possibly 3-4 guy, because he got the arms. You know, he can punch. He get blockers off of him. He can extend. He can, you know, if you want to do some exotic stuff, I think he can even like stand up on some of these weird looking packages. I think he could
too.
You know? So Brandon Dorless is a guy with his versatility. He can play all over the place, but it's not like he's losing when he goes into B gap. No, he wins there too.
He's not. And you can watch the Texas Tech game where he makes a 4th down stop in that game. And then he makes a rush at the end of the game that's able to help to win the game.
And he's beating up on all these like Pac-12 dudes that we respect like that. Jordan Morgan had a good fight with him. You know, Fuaga is a whole different monster, but he had some good, you know, some good little fights with him. I just think Brandon Dorless is a dude that's very impressive. He could probably play edge on the next level. He'll probably be more of a 3-tech guy full time. But man, Bryan Broaddus, once again, I like him more than Ruke Oro. And this ain't us poo-pooing on Ruke Oro. I'm just trying to find the spot. We're just trying to line these guys up how we like them. I like them more than him. Go ahead.
Yep, I agree. I totally agree with you.
Brandon Dorless. Okay, so you said you like him, so I assume you like him more than Michael Hall too.
I do.
Yeah, I agree. So the more we go down this list, the more we seem to like guys, the more we go down it. So Brandon Dorless is a guy Brugler has at 83. I think he's going to be a top 50 dude by the time this is over with. Maybe like an early 2nd round guy. He could possibly sneak into the late 1st. I like the player a lot.
Sure do. I agree with you. Absolutely.
Here we go. So a little bit of a mix up here for me. Dane Brugler's 99th player, Braden Fisk. I like Braden Fisk. His film was interesting. I think the last thing that he showed us, which was Senior Bowl, was like his best work I've ever seen from him. So Brian, how do you weigh that, right? He's a guy that his film is fine. Brandon Dorless, Braden Fisk has fine film, but he has a ridiculously good all-star game.
Sure.
And I would weigh an all-star game better because, hey, this is a best of best scenario, right?
Right.
Braden Fisk, active player, first step, quickness, ball get off. Can be strong. His hands aren't incredibly powerful, but he's more of a lower body strength guy. But effort with him. I actually went down a rabbit hole, and I encourage everybody to watch more than 1 year of film because it can paint a perfect picture. I didn't even know that he was one of those like directional Michigan kids. He has some film over there where he actually played edge. He was an end over there. So maybe that's why he's a little more athletic than some of these other 3-tech guys. But he has a really good first step though. Cool player.
No, you got him nailed once again. He's got a violent temperament to his game and his play style. Yeah. And so that's one of those things when you watch him play, he is super disruptive. And you see him and Verse work together in the twist game. And Fisk is the looper and Verse is the penetrator. And usually you would think, okay, bigger guy, let's make that, but no, they flip it. And he's got some power to him, and he's got the ability to rush, and he's got, we talk about the power in the hands. When you shoot him, when you see him shoot those hands, it stops those blockers in their track, and he does a really good job of disengaging. And he's got the strength and the power to throw blockers aside. He does a really good job of holding things up along the line of scrimmage, or he could shoot the gap. The lateral movement as a pass rusher. There's times when you watch the Louisville game where he's out in space and the Louisville quarterback keeps drifting and he goes and makes the tackle, out in space. So he's not going to get, he's not going to get run by in that way, or juked and knocked on the ground or fall on the ground or something like that. Mm-hmm. The one thing he does, though, he plays a little tall at times, and blockers do get underneath him some. But I love the power. I love the tenacity. I love the temperament. And I love the range about this player.
What's his size? I didn't get a good look at
6'3", 300.
He looks a little shorter than that. He looks 6'1", a little bitty. But hey, shouts out to him. But as a player, I like him a little bit. I like him definitely more than Ruke. I like him. He's right there with like Jenkins for me, but I like maybe Jenkins a little more, but I definitely like Michael Hall and Brandon Dorlus more than Brady.
Yes, I agree with you on that.
Okay, that's just where we at. Now we're out of guys for Brugler's top 100. That is the 8 of Brugler's top 100. Here are the guys that were not listed. I don't know if you remember, but on our Senior Bowl conversation, I asked you about Gabe Hall. Then you said that you hadn't watched him, and I don't know if you know this is how it goes, right? But every time, but when somebody says something in the draft show spear or like somewhere on like the internet, Twitter, they run to me, and somebody said that you said Gabe Hall was like David Irvin. So would you like to talk to us about that?
Well, it's funny. I mean, I have not watched the player, and the thing about it was we were playing clips, and I looked at the clips, and we were watching them. I'm saying, here's a guy with I believe he wears number 95. I think I was right about that.
Yep.
And he's a tall guy. And I'm like, man, it kind of, look at the number, look at the player and the way he's kind of moving around, a tall inside player.
Sure.
Kind of, that's what you thought about with David Irvin. He's so long in his stance, and then he gets up the field and you're like, guy, he's playing like a much smaller guy there. So yeah, I've not seen the player. I went back, like I said, I've done all of Dane's guys, and then I did DeWayne Carter, which I know you're probably going to get to.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, just watching the clips, I'm thinking, look at number 95, look at him in his stance, look how it kind of looks like a David Irvin, the way he was kind of moving around there.
Yeah, and man, bro, let me ask you this. Let me just pivot to Cowboys real fast. One quick Cowboy question. We're moving on. I asked people on social media like a year ago. I asked them, would you rather have Sean Lee with perfect knees or David Irvin, but he never gets in trouble? Which guy would you rather have?
Sean Lee would probably do more for you, but man, David Irvin, there's going to be one day where, and I've said this before on different platforms, I'm going to be at my crawfish boil, and someone's going to ask me, who's the best player you ever saw that didn't live up to his potential? And I'm going to say it's David Irvin.
Sure.
Because David Irvin, when you watched him play, he was player of the week against the Packers. He played like 16 plays,
Yeah.
So he caused like a fumble. He had tackles for loss. He had sacks. That's what David Irvin was.
Yeah,
he was an outstanding player. Just unfortunately, though, he couldn't hold it together like he needed to in order to maintain his career.
Man, what we got to do to find another one of those guys?
Yeah, tell me about it.
Anyway, let's get this player off the list. Leonard Taylor from Miami. What'd you think about him?
I didn't see Leonard Taylor. So the players that we've kind of all gone through, though, I've like I say, I'm bouncing around on all these guys trying to get them done. So I haven't seen Leonard Taylor play yet.
Yeah, okay.
So if you could fill me in on Leonard Taylor, I'd be happy to learn a little bit there.
I not miss very much. He's another dude that's kind of been talked about a little bit, but he's a victim of his team makes him play zero, but he's really going to be a B gap guy, you know. And I guess they're leaning on his ability to move a little bit. Like he's a solid moving dude, but he doesn't belong head up over the center. So what they'll do sometimes is they'll line him up in B gap, and we go, all right, let's evaluate him in B gap, but he does some of the same things that he does in A gap. So, and I got real upset with him. So I'm not a Leonard Taylor guy at all, and maybe everybody else isn't either, because at some point on PFF's list they had him in the 30s, and now he's not even on any on most people
anymore.
Yeah. So he maybe fell down guys list. What about Wingo? Wingo from LSU, Mekhi Wingo. Did you watch him?
Yeah, no. See, that's the thing. The list that we've gone through, the guys I've seen, and I mentioned the Carter one. So if you want to bring up some guys, like I say, I have not. I'm like I say, I'm working off Dane's list, and I was working off an ESPN list. So if some of these guys are not on those lists, then I'm kind of like, okay, I got to circle back and pick them up. But yeah, the 1 and the 3 techniques are something I've got to dive into a little bit more, a little bit deeper. But like I say, I was knocking out running backs last night. I was knocking out, all these different positions and trying to kind of catch up in some ways. But no, the list of the techniques of the defensive tackles that we've gone through, like I say, with the exception of DeWayne Carter, I know we haven't talked about him yet, or the ones I've done.
Well, here we go then. Feature presentation then. So this is what happened.
You educate me, please.
Let's do it there, Brian. So I'm just minding my business. Me and Bryan Broaddus got this defensive tackle show. I just want to make sure I'm well versed in it, and I stumble upon this guy from Duke, DeWayne Carter. And the only reason I watched him, Brian, is because my favorite rapper's name is DeWayne Carter, Lil Wayne. That's his real name in real life. I wasn't even gonna watch him, Brian, but I was like, all right, cool. This is sticking out to me for whatever reason. And I'm watching film on DeWayne Carter, and I sound very excited for everybody listening right now. I sound very excited. I'm not calling him a first-round pick, right? But I'm very excited because this dude is better than a lot of these dudes that we just talked about so far. That's just my own personal opinion. And I'm watching DeWayne Carter from Duke. He's played 5 years, right? I guess he's one of these COVID super senior dudes, right? But
3-time captain at Duke.
Three-time captain. There you go. Fantastic. But I'm watching him, Brian, and he's a player. You know how when you like a player, the more you just want to deep dive on him? I was only gonna watch 2 games of him. I was like, cool, let me go back to the year before that. I'm like, cool, let me go back to some Sam Howell, North Carolina films so I can see some more of DeWayne Carter. It's all in the highlights right here. So and I'm just watching him, Brian. I'm like, man, there's no way we haven't talked about this dude. They line him up all over the place. Sometimes plays a little edge. There it goes right there. Plays 3, plays 1, but he's a B gap dude. And what you see is power in his hands. And we talked about a lot of dudes that got power in their hands, but he's a dude that has power, but then he follows up with something else and he gets off those blocks. Very active player. Athletic ability. He's not like the athletes that we mentioned earlier or whatever, but he's a better athlete than some of these other characters that we're talking about. He's not just a bull rush run down the middle of you guy. He knows how to work his angles. He knows how to armpit lift you up and shuck you somewhere, then go find the ball carrier. High effort guy. I'm watching DeWayne Carter. There's no way. Everybody, please watch my highlights, but then go watch your own films. You can have your own opinion. I might be crazy, right? Trust yourself. But I'm watching DeWayne Carter. I'm like, man, there's no way he's not on top 100 list. There's no way he shouldn't be on at least somebody's 150. And he's better. He's definitely better than our Clemson guy that we talked about earlier.
You're totally right, and I appreciate you turning me on to him. Though, like I say, when you mentioned him, I immediately went and started to watch him. I think you got the player right. I think that you talk about the older player though, with the the years that they're at Clemson. He's got power. He's got strength. He's got powerful hands. He's got good, upper body strength at the point of attack. I'd like to see him disengage a little quicker when dealing with some blockers. Sure. And there's some times where the ball goes right by him, and that's a little bit of a concern. But when he's got a shot to make the play, but the lateral agility, there's some balance, body control things that he can work on. But man, I kind of saw a player that that he does a good job of holding up blockers when he faces multiple guys. You know, and I wouldn't say he's the quickest guy off the snap because he kind of pops up a little bit, then gets going. But he showed some power in the Notre Dame game. And Notre Dame's got a good offensive line. And he took it to those guys pretty well. So there were several times where he was able to walk the blockers back into the backfield and then retrace his steps and then get in on the play. So I really, really liked that about him. I thought maybe he could be a little bit of up and down with his play, but his power is a real plus and his experience is a real plus as well.
Sure. And Brian, you know, when I watch, you know, these guys and you know, maybe they're sometimes guy like, hey, he makes a lot of plays sometimes. You know, maybe it's like a processing thing. Like, you know, maybe you just need to see it better. You just need to ID what's happening. Because sometimes you could be trying to ID something in front of you and you just like not move anymore. Because you're just trying to analyze it so much that you just go still and you just don't move. But I just think with more reps, a little bit of coaching, I just see traits in him, right? I see traits.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all.
And
you get him right.
And there are many players that we've talked about today that got traits, but ultimately what I talk about is how do you win? How do you win? And I know how he wins. He wins by punching the hell out of people. He wins by being a little more athletic. He wins by setting these guys up with these moves, and he wins with effort. He wins with effort. There's a play in here somewhere where he's chasing the quarterback. The quarterback throws the ball to son. Is this it right here? This is it right here. He's chasing. He's chasing. And Jordan Travis just gives him a hard time because he just we won't let him sack him. But he'll dump the ball off to the running back. He comes off the quarterback and goes to tackle the damn ball carrier, bro. Like if you can do anything, give me effort. And he's giving us that plus all the other stuff that we just talked about today. I know I sound excited, and I know when people hear me excited, they think, oh, first round pick. No, I'm just saying he's a dude you need to be watching. You need to know who he is just as much as you need to know who Chris Jenkins and Ruke Oro and Brandon Doris.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was a good get on your part. Really was. People need to take a peek at him. He's going to go up the boards. The more people are going to talk about this player. More people are going to talk about this guy.
Fair enough, Bryan Broaddus. Thank you so much for another great one. I love to do these. I love to, you know, show up and exchange these words with you because I know the people love to see it. And I'm very competitive. You know what I mean? We're not competing, right?
No.
But we're putting on a show for people. And I don't want to come lacking if I know Bryan Broaddus is here or if Aisha Morrison is here or if Zach, because those dudes do homework and I'm not going to look crazy amongst a table of people that do their homework, right? So I look forward to doing these a whole bunch and I appreciate you coming by the channel.
Well, thank you. And I apologize to everybody out there that having to deal with my cold and all that today. I'm really, really sorry about that. I just didn't want to miss the show this week. And so I did my very best. And I do appreciate you. I look forward to when we can do this again. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Maybe in like 2 weeks or something like that, we'll watch some corners and we'll just
sounds
break
good.
Down
Look forward to that.
All right, Bryan Broaddus, 105.3 The Fan, G-Bag Nation, 2 to 7. Love the Star podcast with the fantastic Bobby Belt. Love him too. Let's do some work, Bobby. Quit playing. The draft show, the draft show I've been watching since I was a little one, since I was a teenager. Shouts out to you over there. And just wherever you can find them, cowboys.com and Bryan Broaddus, Bryan Broaddus on Twitter. Appreciate you. Y'all have a good one. Salute.
Thank you, man.